Stranger Things is over. 10 years. This show started back in 2016. I was graduating high school at the time, and over these past 10 years, we have watched these kids grow up right before our eyes. And that is something for people, a lot of us around my age, we don't have the chance to experience that yet. And I think there's a beauty in that. And through all the plot holes that took place during Stranger Things 5, and for all the complaints that people have, at the end of the day, I was still super emotional watching this show finish because I got to watch these kids turn into adults. I got to watch them literally close that chapter of their lives. This was their childhood, right? Ever since they were super young, they've been working on the show, and I can't imagine how emotional they were on the last day of set. You know, this is a huge change in their life, giving this up. I'm sure there's a little bit of, we did it, we're done. But at the same time, I know there was probably a lot of sadness. This is going to be something that they really miss. And I know at the end of the day, they're really going to miss seeing each other every day because they grew up with their castmates and, you know, the Duffer Brothers and everyone behind the scenes. They grew up with these people. Now, look, Stranger Things 5 was not perfect. All right, before I get into anything, I do want to say, I used to cover this show with my friend Bailey. We did a show called Star Court Report. It took place during Stranger Things 3. We went to StrangerCon. We got to meet Noah Schnapp, Matty Carter-Oppel, I always say his name wrong, Millie Bobby Brown, Caleb McLaughlin. And we got to listen to them have exclusive interviews on stage. We listened to Priya Ferguson, and I can't remember. Oh, Gaten was there, Gaten Matarazzo. We got to hear their stories, and watching Stranger Things 5, you know, there was such a big time gap. Other shows, mainly Game of Thrones, you can't really see my tattoo, that had taken over my life. Those types of shows, Game of Thrones, The Crown, had become, Schitt's Creek, had become my favorite shows of all time, and Stranger Things kind of got pushed to the side. But when I was watching Stranger Things 5 about halfway through, it kind of took me back to, this was the first show that I got addicted to. I was in love with this show. And I didn't watch it live. No, I didn't start watching it until season 3. I watched season 1 and 2 before season 3 to catch up, and I got absolutely hooked. So much so that I asked my friend Bailey to start this podcast, this show, to cover Stranger Things, and I traveled with him, and we had a really good time putting the show on. Now, when it comes to season 5, look, I've been seeing all the discourse. I've been listening to TikToks. I've been seeing everyone's comments on X. A lot of people have issues with the season. And I was not a huge fan of Volume 2 because I think the stakes weren't there. That was always my biggest complaint, is the Duffer Brothers came out and they said, this isn't Game of Thrones. You know, this isn't Breaking Bad. We're not just killing characters to kill them. And I get what they're saying to an extent. They're saying that's not their goal. They're not just going to kill characters to give you that shock factor. It's got to actually make sense for the story to kill someone off. And my biggest complaint was the characters they introduced, the Billies, the Eddies, the Barbs, the Alexies, the Bobs. They introduced these characters just to kill them off. And it always felt like the plot armor for the main characters, as in most movies and TV shows, were strong. However, I thought it was a little too strong, and I knew they weren't going to kill anyone major, and I say kill. The moment Volume 2 ended, and none of the main cast had died. Because that would have been the perfect time to kill someone off. Right? They die, they get killed, and then that gives the group motivation to, let's put an end to this once and for all. We're done. You know, that kind of fires them up. So when I didn't see that in episode 7, I knew none of the main casts were going to die in the finale because you already missed the perfect chance to do this, or to do that. So going into the finale, I was aware of that. And another thing that I've stated in my TikTok videos, and I've stated on Letterboxd when I wrote my review, I went into this completely open-minded, brain shut off. I did so much complaining in Volume 2 of Season 5 that I didn't allow myself just to enjoy the final few episodes of the show that I had grown up watching. So going into the finale, my sole focus, enjoy this. It's going to be the last time you see Stranger Things, or at least the current rendition of it. Obviously, we're going to have spin-offs. We have a new animated series coming out. Netflix is definitely going to milk this as long as they can. But this is your last chance to see the entirety of the original cast together one last time. So I sat down, turned off my brain. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to enjoy it. And I was on the side of, I enjoyed the finale. Sure, there were things that didn't make sense. There's one scene that really bothers me in particular. When the kids are running away from Vecna, and Vecna reaches out and he grabs Holly. And then it was Derek who grabs Holly on the other side and pulls her away from Vecna. And don't get on to me about he's scared of the cave. That's why he pulled back. He wasn't anywhere near the cave. There's no reason that delightful Derek should be saving Holly here. But I didn't want to focus on that. I ignored it. I went, oh, I kind of did a chuckle and all right. I hated, and quick spoiler, so if you're watching this, you know, you already were risking any spoilers, but here's a spoiler alert. I didn't like how they left the ending open-ended. I know some people like it. They left it up to interpretation. It makes sense. I get what they were going for. But again, I think that was them being safe. They should have just stuck to their guns, killed 11. She's dead. That's your major death right there. Not that I think anyone was like heartbroken about it, honestly. But, you know, we did get a major death. And I wish they just left it as that instead of giving this ultimatum of, you know, maybe she's still out there. Maybe she made it out with the help of Callie is her name? God, I don't care about her so much. I really don't know her name. Which I refuse to believe. I'm on the side of she's dead. She's gone. This is a story that Mike created to help him cope, which gives you a little bit more emotional depth. But I don't see any way that Callie would have been able to create this illusion. I think she was dead. I think Hopper was right there when she died. I think 11 is long gone. I'm hearing the complaints about the battle was far too short. And I agree. I did sit there and I was like, wow, that went by pretty fast. There's a lot of walking in the abyss from Nancy, Jonathan, Will, Joyce. There's a lot of walking to get to the Mind Flayer, where I think the Mind Flayer was dope. I thought it was super cool. I actually just rewatched the scene today when 11 throws a boulder at the Mind Flayer and they're standing one-on-one and she starts running and the Mind Flayer, I got chills. I had chills the entire time. She swoops in, knocks Vecna off his poach, and the entire fight, even though it was only like 5-6 minutes, I loved it. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was cool that Will was able to hack into Vecna one last time and just kind of tore his arm off. I have some complaints about it. I didn't think about this at the time, but a lot of people said, where were the Demogorgons? Where were the Demodogs? And good point. I mean, the Demogorgons for the first 3 seasons, you could argue even the 4th, were such an integral part of the show. They were so involved, and they were the first original bad guys, you know, back in season 1. We didn't know anything about the Upside Down, the Mind Flayer. We just knew about the Demogorgons. And to not have them in the finale when they have been such a pivotal part of the show is definitely surprising. And I stole this from, I believe I heard it from the Escape Pod podcast, or not the Escape Pod, Laters of the Lost podcast is who I heard it from. Imagine how cool it would have been. You have Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, all of them, Dustin, fighting the Mind Flayer. You have 11 fighting Vecna. And then Vecna starts calling the Demodogs and the Demogorgons to help out, and it looks like they're going to get overwhelmed. And then you have Will hack into them and snap all of them. And then he turns his attention to Vecna. Would have prolonged the fight a little bit longer and would have made it super epic where you have these 3 people. You have the group, 11, and Will all helping out to defeat not only Vecna, not only the Mind Flayer, but all of the Abyss and its creatures. I think it would have been a really dramatic and really, really cool to see. And then the other complaint that I had about the battle is Joyce, while I'm happy to see she gets that final blow of, wow, you screwed my family over, you messed with the wrong family, as she said, I think it would have been cool. And I love the way that they kind of panned to everybody and showed their trauma, what this series of events have done to them in their childhood. But I think it would have been cool if Vecna was not impaled, but kind of just pinned there, maybe by 11 or someone. And then the entire group takes turns, one from Caleb, and it shows what he went through. One from Mike, and it shows what he went through. One from Nancy, and everyone just is hacking away. And then when Vecna's lying there on his deathbed from all these shots, then you have Joyce who comes in for the final blow. I think that would have been a little bit more powerful. But again, this is such a nitpicky thing, and I've been saying it all week. If you went into this and you were already disappointed and you're already complaining about this entire season, how the show's been ruined, and you went in looking for plot holes and mistakes and bad acting, you're not going to enjoy it. You're not allowing yourself to enjoy this and feel the nostalgia. But if you went in with an open mind, you know what? This is Stranger Things. There's plot holes. There's some bad acting. But I'm going to watch it for just what it is. It really helps you. And I really enjoyed watching it that way. And then the epilogue was so good. That was the best part of the episode. Actually, my favorite part of the entire episode, entire seasons, was the entire season, not seasons, but was the scene on the roof of the radio station with Robin, Jonathan, Steve, and Nancy. And I think that's because as I'm about to turn 28 years old, it connects with me. You get back with your high school friends, your childhood friends, your hometown friends, and every time you get back together, it's so fun. There's no drama. You reminisce about the good times, and you do always have that one person, and it's usually me, who goes, hey, we need to do this more often. We need to get together once a month or once a week, and it never happens. It never happens. Y'all are too busy. You can't work out scheduling, but you get together every 3 to 5 months, a couple times a year, and that's enough. Those are the best times in your life. And so this scene really connected with me, and it really felt like, with the lighting as well, everything felt like it was a goodbye. And then you had that final scene of all the kids putting their books back, and people have been comparing that to their scripts. They're putting their scripts down, and the way they handled the epilogue was just absolutely beautiful, and you have to give the Duffer Brothers credit for that. This was the first major show on Netflix. It made them so much money. They've done countless conventions. Every time a new season comes out, everyone is just the entire family, all around their TV. And whether you like season 5 or don't like season 5, or whether you feel like the show fell off or it didn't, this is still one of the greatest shows of all time. And this is still one that's going to be rewatched for generations upon generations. And this is one that, like I said, Netflix is going to milk for the long haul. And I'm going to miss it. And I just want to thank the Duffer Brothers and Netflix for allowing me to witness these kids grow up and watch this incredible show for years. 10 years is crazy. Did it take them a little too long to film? I agree, but 10 years. Time flies. Thank you guys for watching. I've got my podcast equipment over there. I've got my computer. I just got to purchase the streaming software again. And we're going to get back to making more of these videos where I review movies, review TV shows in a more professional environment and not just my phone with a ring light. But if you want to check out more of my reviews, make sure to check out my Letterboxd account. I'll put the link in the description down below. Follow that, like all my reviews, do whatever you want over there. And then don't forget to follow me on social media. I'll put all of those links down in the description below as well. Like this video, share it, help me get my name out there. I appreciate you guys. Happy New Year's. And for the last time, it's been good going to the Upside Down. I'm going to miss it. 10 years. It's just insane.